So when my friend Josh texted me asking if I could cover his shift, I said yes before he even told me what the job was. I was broke. Like, checking couch cushions for change broke. I just lost my weekend gig at the cafe, my rent was due in a week, and my pantry had more ramen noodles than a college dorm. Just one night, Josh said. Easy cash, same rate as before plus tips. I'll explain everything when you get there. He sent me the address. Downtown, weird part of the city I didn't really go to unless I was tagging along with him. But I figured, whatever. I'd bartended for him before when he did private parties or events. I figured it was another one of those pour drinks, wipe tables, pretend not to listen when people overshare. I didn't realize I'd just agreed to work at a gay strip club. The outside didn't scream it, just a sleek black building with red light glowing from behind a velvet curtain. I walked in the side entrance like he said. It was dim, loud, and filled with thumping music that rattled my chest. "Hey!" Someone barked over the noise. A tall guy in tight jeans and no shirt came striding up, clipboard in hand. "You the fill-in?" "Yeah. Josh sent me." He looked me over, black tee, jeans, sneakers, and laughed. "You didn't know, did you?" "Didn't know what?" "This is Fuel. Welcome to the hottest gay strip club in the city." I blinked. "Wait, what?" He handed me a black tank top with a club logo across the chest. "Don't worry, you're not dancing. You're on floor duty. Keep drinks moving. Wipe the booths if things get messy. You'll figure it out." And before I could protest, he was already shouting directions at someone else. I just stood there like an idiot, holding the tank top and trying not to panic. I thought about leaving. Seriously. I mean, it's not like I had a problem with the place. I'm gay. Not that it ever came up much. Just quiet about it. Wasn't exactly the type to hang out at strip clubs. Especially not ones where guys with bodies carved out of marble were grinding on poles like they invented gravity. But then I remembered my bank account. So I pulled the tank on, took a deep breath, and stepped out into the chaos. The club was packed. Lights flashing, bodies moving, bills flying. The dancers were all absurdly attractive, and knew it. The crowd was wild but happy, mostly guys in groups, a few bachelorette parties. I kept to the edges, sticking to my job, clearing glasses, delivering drinks from the bar, dodging flying dollar bills. Then he stepped onto the stage. I didn't catch his name at first, just noticed the shift in the room. Like all the air had leaned in. He was tall, olive skin, dark curly hair, wearing only black briefs and combat boots. The lights hit him just right, outlining every muscle, every curve. He moved like he wasn't just dancing. He was telling you a secret with his body. Confident, but not arrogant. A smirk that made you feel like it was only for you. I froze. It wasn't just that he was hot, though he was. It was that he made eye contact. Right in the middle of the song, he locked eyes with me while I was awkwardly balancing a tray of mojitos like my life depended on it. And then he winked. I immediately knocked over 2 drinks. He laughed, on stage, mid-routine, and kept moving, hips rolling, arms flexing as he slid down the pole. But every few seconds, he'd glance back at me. I tried to pretend I didn't notice, kept cleaning up. But the moment his set ended, he disappeared backstage, and I finally exhaled. Until I turned around, and he was standing right behind me. He was shirtless, still glistening from the stage lights, towel slung over one shoulder, like it was just another gym day. Up close, the guy was even more intense. His eyes were this stormy gray that didn't look real. Up close, they felt even less real. Too sharp, too focused, too aimed at me. "You're Josh's replacement?" he asked, voice casual but with this amused edge, like he already knew the answer and just wanted to hear me say it. "Yeah. First, and probably last time," I said, still holding an empty tray like a shield. He smirked. "You don't look like the usual type they throw in here last minute." "What, because I'm not glittering or half naked?" "Because you look like you're about to sprint for the exit," he said, cocking his head. "Relax, you're doing fine." Didn't even flinch when Nick got a lap dance request from the bachelorette table. I actually hadn't seen that. Probably a good thing. I'm Tyler, I said, extending a hand because my brain had run out of better ideas. Roman, he said, taking it. His grip was warm and dry and lingered just one beat longer than expected. Then he let go. You gonna be around all night? I shrugged. Until the place shuts down or I die of embarrassment. Roman laughed. And it wasn't the stage laugh, the one he used to tease the audience. This was different, quieter, real, and way more dangerous, in a different kind of way. You get used to it, he said, slinging the towel around his neck. It's not what people think. The lights, the bodies, the whole show. It's not always about closeness. Sometimes it's just about being seen. I didn't say anything. I was too busy trying not to stare at him. The way his chest rose and fell with his breathing. The way the muscles in his arms tightened when he moved. It wasn't fair. He made standing still look like choreography. He leaned against the wall beside me, lowering his voice. You're gay? It wasn't a question that felt like judgment, more like confirmation. Yeah, I said after a pause. I just don't advertise. Roman nodded like he understood. This place is kind of the opposite of that. Nobody here stays invisible for long. A beat of silence passed between us. Then he said, You want to watch from the back tonight? Not the floor, the real show. What do you mean? He motioned toward the side hallway, past the curtain where the dancers went to prep before their sets. I'll show you. I hesitated, but the way he looked at me, curious, patient, and just a little bit daring, it made something shift in me. I nodded. He led me behind the stage, through a narrow hallway lined with mirrors and LED strip lights. The music thumped through the walls. The air smelled like cologne and sweat, and something sweet I couldn't place. This is where we gear up, he said. Where we wait, where we figure out who we're going to be before we step out there. I glanced around. There were stools, makeup cases, water bottles, and guys in various states of undress, some chatting, others stretching, or applying body oil like it was war paint. Roman pulled me to a side spot, away from the others. You don't have to talk, just watch. You'll learn more that way. So I did. I watched the way each dancer transformed. The guy who joked about fantasy football suddenly became a slow-motion god under red lights. The quiet one in the corner, who barely said 2 words to anyone, hit the stage like he owned the damn place. It wasn't just stripping, it was performance. Characters, personas, armor, maybe? And Roman? When he went up again for his second set, I couldn't take my eyes off him. He wasn't the same guy who joked with me 10 minutes ago. He became something else. Seductive, magnetic, untouchable. The crowd lost it. I saw bills fly, heard gasps and shouts and whistles. He danced like he wasn't just selling fantasy, like he believed it. But even then, even while he spun around the pole and dropped into a perfect grind, his eyes still searched the room. And when they found me, tucked in the shadowed hallway behind the stage, he gave me that same damn smirk again, the one that made my skin feel too tight. I didn't know what the hell that meant, but I felt it. When his set ended, he vanished into the locker area. I tried to play it cool, stayed where I was, pretending I was just doing my job. But 5 minutes later, I felt him come up behind me again. You looked, he said. What? Out there, he said, voice low and close. You watched the whole thing, even when you tried not to. I swallowed. Yeah, I guess I did. Roman stepped a little closer. We weren't touching, but I could feel the heat coming off him, the buzz of leftover adrenaline. Good, he said. Keep watching. Then he disappeared into the dressing room again, towel slung low on his hips, leaving me frozen in place, heart pounding, like I'd just danced the set myself. The rest of the night blurred. I kept doing what I was supposed to do, clearing drinks, wiping down booths, nodding at the regulars who waved or tried to tip me with something other than money. But every 20 minutes or so, I'd feel it, that unmistakable pull, and I'd glance back toward the hallway behind the stage. Sometimes Roman wasn't there. Other times, he was watching me. He didn't hide it. He leaned against the wall like he was born there, arms folded, eyes on me like I was the one under the lights. Every time we locked eyes, I felt it in my chest. Not fear. Not even excitement. Just pressure. A presence. This is happening whether you're ready or not kind of stare. I didn't even realize how late it had gotten until the lights came up just after 2 a.m. The music wound down. The crowd filtered out, drunk and laughing, and buzzed from more than alcohol. I started bussing the final tables, scrubbing sticky rings from glassware off the black tables. "You stayed," Roman said, suddenly appearing beside me again. He'd changed. Tight black jeans, plain white t-shirt. Somehow, even out of costume, he still looked like someone who didn't need to try. "Didn't know I had a choice." "You did. Could have bailed hours ago." I shrugged, stacking the last few glasses on my tray. "You said to keep watching." Roman tilted his head slightly, then nodded toward the dressing rooms. "Come back with me." I hesitated. "Not for anything weird," he added quickly. "Just come talk. You've been on your feet all night. There's a couch back there." He could have said anything. Told me to help clothes, clean, whatever, but the way he said talk made my chest tighten. I nodded and followed him. The dressing room was quieter now, emptier. Some of the dancers had already left. Others were half asleep on benches, toweling off, changing. Roman led me to a little side lounge, tiny fridge, beat-up gray couch, string lights tacked up like someone had tried to make the place cozy. He grabbed 2 bottled waters, tossed one to me, then dropped onto the couch and stretched out. Not all the way. Just enough to take up space and make it very clear he was comfortable. I sat on the edge of the cushion like a guest in someone else's living room. "You really had no idea where Josh worked?" he asked after a beat. "None. I thought I was covering a bartending gig or like a birthday party or something. Not this." Roman laughed. "And now that you know," I looked over at him. "It's a lot." "Too much?" I paused. "No, just not what I expected." He nodded slowly. "It never is." We sat in silence for a moment. Just the hum of the mini fridge and faint music from someone's phone down the hall. "I've seen straight guys freeze up when they realize what kind of club this is," Roman said. "And I've seen guys who aren't even sure what they are start to unravel the minute they get here." "And what do you think I am?" I asked. He turned his head, meeting my eyes. "I think you're quieter than most guys I talk to here, and I think you're not nearly as uncomfortable as you pretend to be." That sat heavy in the air between us. I didn't answer right away. Because he was right. It wasn't discomfort I felt all night. It was curiosity. Attraction. Maybe even a little envy. These guys were living out loud, dancing without apology, touching and being touched like they weren't afraid of being seen. Meanwhile, I was still stuck in this space of silence, always hiding, always trying not to be too obvious, too gay, too much. Roman sat up straighter, his voice softening. "I wasn't trying to mess with you. Just figured you looked like someone who hadn't seen a place like this before." "I haven't," I said. "Not really." He leaned back again, his knee now brushing against mine. The contact was small, casual, but it made my whole leg tense. "So what do you want to know?" he asked. "What?" "You've been watching all night. Don't you have questions?" I swallowed. "Do you ever get tired of people looking at you?" Roman thought for a second, then smiled. Small, not smug. "Only when they look and don't see anything. People don't see you. They see the body, the act, the tease. But the rest of it? No. That's part of the job. Being something for everyone and no one at the same time." I didn't expect that kind of honesty, especially not from a guy who could walk onto a stage and make men and women lose their minds. You seemed like you knew exactly who you were out there. He gave a low laugh. That's the trick. Our knees were still touching, and I hadn't moved. Neither had he. He looked at me again, longer this time. No smirk, no teasing, just waiting. I don't know what made me say it. Maybe it was the low light, or the adrenaline still draining from my system. But I asked, "Do you ever show someone the real thing?" Roman's eyes darkened slightly. Not with danger, with intent. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "when I think they can handle it." My mouth went dry. "And how do you know?" He shifted just a little closer. Our thighs pressed together. "Because they stop pretending they don't want to be seen." I don't know how long we sat there. The small lounge felt like it existed outside of time, separate from the noise of the club, from the versions of ourselves we'd been all night. Out there, I was the fill-in guy wiping tables and trying not to gawk. Roman was the showstopper, the fantasy. But here, in the soft yellow glow of those string lights, we were just two guys sitting too close on a worn couch, pretending we didn't know what was happening. Except I did know. I knew it from the heat where our legs touched, from the way his voice dropped when he leaned in, from the fact that he hadn't moved away, that neither of us had. Roman was watching me again, but differently now. Not as a performer clocking an audience member. As a man reading another man who hadn't decided whether to stay hidden or step forward. "You don't talk much," he said finally. "I'm trying to figure out if this is a game," I said, honest. "If you're just doing your job." He leaned back slightly. "If I was working, I'd already have your wallet and your phone number." That made me laugh. Quiet, but real. "So this isn't work?" Roman shook his head. "Not anymore." He didn't reach for me, didn't push. He just sat there, giving me space, letting me decide. "I haven't really done much," I admitted, my voice low. "With guys?" I nodded. "I mean, I've dated a few times. Messy, awkward things that felt more like scratching an itch than anything real. Nothing like this." Roman was quiet for a second. Then, "I get that." "You do?" He nodded. "Before I started dancing, I used to keep everything on lockdown. My voice, my walk, even how I looked at other guys. Thought if I kept it subtle, nobody would care. But hiding's exhausting, isn't it?" That word exhausting hit harder than I expected. Because it was. Constantly second-guessing, avoiding eye contact, playing neutral, pretending I didn't notice when a guy looked at me for too long. "Yeah," I said, barely above a whisper. "It is." Roman reached down and cracked open his water bottle. Took a sip, then offered it to me without a word. I drank, partly because I was thirsty, partly because it felt oddly intimate to share something so small. Then he shifted again, his thigh pressed fully against mine now. "You're not invisible here, Tyler," he said. "You don't have to be." That broke something open in me. Not in a dramatic way, just this soft, almost imperceptible click, like a door unlocking that had been sealed for years. I turned toward him, and for the first time all night, I didn't look away. His hand moved between us, slow, careful, resting on my knee. Not sliding up, not pulling, just there, warm, steady. "Is this okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah. Good." I didn't expect the wave that came next. That low thrum of yes that started somewhere deep in my chest and rolled outward, setting every nerve on edge. I wanted to lean into him, but I also didn't want to rush. Not out of fear, but out of this weird, glowing awareness that something was actually happening. Something real. I thought tonight was going to be humiliating, I admitted, laughing nervously. Like, I'd mop floors and leave with stories I'd never tell anyone. Roman smiled. "And now?" I looked at his hand on my knee. Now I'm thinking maybe Josh knew exactly what he was doing. He smirked. "Your friend's a regular here. He's seen me work." I raised an eyebrow. "So what? He offered me up?" Roman leaned in, just a little closer. "Or maybe he figured you needed a nudge." "You think I'm that obvious?" "Not at all," he said. "That's kind of the problem." The honesty stung in the best way. Because it wasn't meant to shame me. It was an invitation. He let his hand slide just slightly higher, resting on my thigh now. Not squeezing. Not taking. Just being there. present. "Tyler," he said quietly. "Yeah? If you don't want anything more than this, I'll get up, I'll wish you a good night, and I'll mean it." I looked at him, at the soft lines of his face, the way his expression had gone serious, tender even. There was no performance in it, no show, just a guy offering another guy the chance to stop pretending. But I didn't want to stop, not anymore, so I leaned in, just enough. Enough for him to know, enough for both of us to exhale at the same time. And when he kissed me, it wasn't fireworks, it wasn't heat, it wasn't anything wild. It was safe. And holy shit, I didn't know how much I needed to feel that. The kiss wasn't long, barely a few seconds. Just lips meeting lips, soft and tentative, like we were both testing the temperature of the water. But when we pulled back, something about the air between us had changed. It was quieter, more intimate. Roman looked at me, like he was making sure I hadn't regretted it already. I didn't, not even close. "I wasn't sure you'd actually do that," he said, his voice softer now, all the edge gone. "Me neither," I admitted, my heart still racing, but I didn't want to leave here wondering what it'd feel like. His hand was still on my thigh. I don't know if I noticed it more after the kiss, or if it had just become part of the atmosphere between us. Comfortable, easy, solid. For a guy I'd just met, Roman didn't feel new anymore. He felt steady. "You good?" he asked. I nodded. "Yeah, just, this is new for me. Or at least, it feels new." Roman leaned back, not pulling away, but giving me space. "You don't have to figure it all out tonight. I just wanted you to feel something other than invisible." "You keep saying that because it's easy to be invisible," he said. "Guys like us learn how to do it young, stay quiet, blend in, don't draw attention, and after a while, it becomes second nature." He wasn't wrong. I'd spent years perfecting it, laughing at the right jokes, dating the right kind of girl in high school, always stopping short of anything that could label me in a way I wasn't ready for. Even now, I wasn't fully out. Not to my family, not to most of my friends. I wasn't closeted, just unspoken. "Why'd you stop hiding?" I asked him. Roman exhaled, leaning his head back against the wall. "Honestly, dancing helped. At first it was just about money, but after a while, I realized something. When I'm on that stage, nobody can tell me to shrink. Nobody can tell me I'm too much or not enough. I decide what they see. And off stage," he looked at me again. "Off stage, I try to keep that same energy. Doesn't always work, but I've had years to practice." I felt something tighten in my chest, a mix of admiration and envy. Because I wanted to feel that sure of myself, that present in my own body. Roman didn't just walk through the world. He claimed his space in it. He must have sensed it, because he nudged my leg gently. "Hey, you're not behind." "I feel like I am." "You're here," he said. "You said yes. You showed up. That counts for something." We sat in silence again for a while, just listening to the distant sounds of lockers slamming and muffled voices in the hallway. The other dancers were wrapping up their night. The club was nearly empty, but I didn't want to leave. Not yet. "I feel like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and wonder if any of this actually happened," I said. Roman chuckled. "Well, if it helps, I've got glitter in places I didn't put it. So yeah, it definitely happened." I laughed, then caught myself looking at him again. Not just his body, his face. The little smile tugging at the edge of his lips. The creases near his eyes. The way he seemed relaxed now, more himself than the dancer I'd watched under the lights. "Do you do this often?" I asked. His eyebrow lifted. "What, kiss guys backstage who are supposed to be bussing tables?" "Yeah." "No," he said. "Not often." "Why me?" Roman didn't answer right away. He reached for the bottle of water between us, took a slow sip, then set it down on the floor. "Because you didn't stare like you wanted something from me," he said. "You stared like you were trying to understand something about yourself." That hit harder than I expected. Because I was. Even from the moment I walked in and realized where I was, I'd been trying to decode the night, what it meant, what I was supposed to feel. And now I knew. I wasn't here by accident. I was here because something in me had needed to see all of this. Roman. The dancing. The freedom. "I'm glad Josh flaked," I said after a while. Roman laughed. "Me too. For once, his chaos did something right." He stood up slowly, stretching. The fabric of his shirt lifted slightly, revealing a sliver of skin that still somehow made my breath hitch. He glanced down at me, eyes warm. "You heading home?" I looked at my phone. Nearly 3 a.m. "I probably should, but I kinda don't want to." Roman smiled again, smaller this time. "You want to hang out a little longer? Off the clock?" "Where?" "Anywhere," he said. "The diner 2 blocks over is open 24/7. Best pancakes in the city. Or we could walk. Or sit in my car and listen to music. I don't care." He wasn't making a move. He wasn't pushing for anything. Just asking me to keep the moment going. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted to say yes. "All right," I said, standing up beside him. "But you're buying." "I didn't exactly make tips tonight," Roman grinned. "Deal." And as we walked out of that little backstage lounge together, into the cool, quiet air of early morning, I realized something I hadn't expected when the night started. This wasn't about a dancer and a rookie. This was about me. Finally letting someone see me. And letting myself be seen. The air outside hit like a reset button. After hours in the dark, pulsing heat of the club, the night felt cold and still. I stuffed my hands into my pockets as Roman locked the back door behind us. We didn't say anything right away. Just started walking down the block like we'd done it 100 times before. The streets were mostly empty, just the occasional cab, neon signs flickering, trash rustling in the wind. It was the kind of quiet that didn't ask for conversation. Roman walked beside me, not too close, not too far. I liked that about him. He seemed to have this instinct for space, when to push in and when to back off. He didn't need to fill silence with words, and neither did I. When we reached the corner, he glanced over. "Still up for that diner?" "Yeah," I said. "Starving, actually." It was a little hole-in-the-wall place tucked between a dry cleaner and a pawn shop. The sign out front said, "Open all night" in red block letters that buzzed faintly. Inside, it smelled like syrup and burnt coffee. A tired waitress waved us toward a booth without looking up from her crossword. We slid in across from each other. Roman didn't even need the menu. "Short stack, 2 eggs, black coffee," he told the waitress. I looked down at the cracked plastic menu like I had to overthink it. Eventually, I said, "Same." When she walked off, Roman leaned back in the booth, stretching slightly, his shoulder grazing the window. "You good?" he asked, his tone light again. "Yeah," I said. "Just feels weird. Like the whole night already feels like something I'll dream about." He grinned. "That's how you know it was real." "Is that what dancing does for people?" I asked. "Makes them feel like they're dreaming?" "Sometimes," he said, running a hand through his hair. "But sometimes it just reminds them they're awake. Alive." The waitress brought our food faster than I expected. Pancakes, eggs, coffee steaming in chipped mugs. The kind of meal that felt like it belonged to a different kind of night. Something slower, softer. I took a bite. It was good. Not life-changing, but real. Warm. Familiar in a way that felt strange considering where I'd just come from. Roman watched me across the table for a few seconds before saying, "So how long have you been out?" I hesitated, not because I didn't want to answer, but because I wasn't even sure what the right number was. "Kinda depends on who you ask," I said. "If you mean out to myself, a few years. If you mean out loud, that's still in progress." He nodded slowly. "Family? Not yet. Friends? Some. Josh knows. A couple others. Nobody at work. I don't post anything online. I guess I've been waiting for the right time." Roman tilted his head. "Does it feel like you're hiding? Or protecting yourself?" "Both," I said. "Depends on the day." That surprised me, how quickly I answered. But it was true. Some days I felt like I was surviving. Other days I knew I was just scared. Not of being rejected, but of being misunderstood, of becoming someone else in people's eyes. You ever get tired of explaining yourself? I asked him. All the time, he said. Especially when people act like being honest about who you are means you owe them an explanation? I nodded. That was exactly it. The exhaustion of being reduced to a label. A curiosity, a question. Do you regret dancing? I asked. Not once, he said without hesitation. It gave me something I didn't know I needed. Freedom. Not just to be seen, but to own it. You don't worry about being judged? Roman smiled, a little sadly. Of course I do. I'm not made of stone, but I'd rather be judged for being too much than ignored for being too little. That sat heavy in my chest. I'd spent so long trying to be just enough, just safe enough to pass, just quiet enough not to draw attention, just straight enough to keep questions at bay. Roman was the opposite. He was bright, and I envied that. Not just the confidence, but the choice to live loudly. He sipped his coffee, eyes scanning my face. You don't have to turn into me, he said gently. You don't have to dance on a stage or strip down for strangers, but you do have to choose who you're gonna be when nobody's looking. Like now? He nodded. Yeah, like now. I looked down at my plate, at the half-eaten pancakes, the slowly cooling eggs, then back at him. I don't know who that is yet, I admitted. Roman didn't flinch. Then keep looking, but don't do it alone. That hit something deep inside me. Not romantic, not sexy, just real. It had been a long time since anyone offered me that. Presence without pressure, support without strings. We finished eating in silence. When the check came, Roman slid his card across the table before I could reach for mine. You said I'm buying, he reminded me. I rolled my eyes. You're never letting me forget that, are you? Nope. As we stepped back outside, the sky was starting to hint at morning, just the faintest glow above the buildings. The city hadn't woken up yet, but you could feel it stirring. Roman walked me back toward the club parking lot. My car was still there, tucked between two others, mist on the windshield. We stopped a few feet from it. Guess this is it, I said. For tonight, he said. I looked at him. You do this with all the new guys? Roman smirked, then shook his head. Nope, just the ones who don't know how much they need it. I didn't lean in again. This time, he did. It was slower, warmer. A second kiss that wasn't about proving anything. Just a promise, something we didn't need to say out loud. When we pulled apart, he tapped the roof of my car lightly. Drive safe. You too. I got in, started the engine, and sat there for a moment watching him walk away. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was disappearing. I didn't sleep when I got home. I thought I would, that I'd collapse into bed the second I walked in. But instead, I found myself sitting on the floor of my apartment, still in my jeans, still wearing the black tank top Roman had handed me at the beginning of the night. It smelled faintly like the club. Sweat, cologne, something vaguely spicy. And him. I stared at the wall for a while. At nothing. My brain was too full. I wasn't used to nights like that. Nights where I felt seen. Not just noticed or complimented, but seen. Like someone had peeled back the layers I'd built around myself and looked straight into whatever was left underneath. It wasn't about the kiss, or the way Roman looked at me. It was about how I felt when he did, and maybe more than that. It was about who I'd let myself be in those moments. Open, curious, unafraid, even if just for a few hours. The next morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Josh. Dude, Roman told me you stayed? Details, now. I just stared at it. Of course Roman had told him something. The two of them were friends. I wasn't mad. I just didn't know what I wanted to say yet. I typed and deleted at least 5 different versions before finally sending back, "Yeah, stayed. Might work again next weekend. I'll explain later." His response came immediately. "That's code for, I kissed someone, isn't it?" I didn't reply. I just grinned at my phone like an idiot and tossed it onto the bed. By Thursday, I'd already texted Roman twice. Nothing flirty, just short check-ins. He responded both times. Always quick, always warm. But he didn't push, didn't suggest anything, didn't ask me to come back. That made me want to, so I did. Friday night, I walked back into Fuel, this time not as a favor, not out of desperation for cash. I came because I wanted to, because I knew Roman would be there. And maybe that wasn't the healthiest reason to start something, but it felt right. The guy at the door recognized me this time, just nodded and waved me in. "You're with Roman?" he asked casually. "I guess," I said, and that was the truth. I didn't know what we were. Friends? Flirts? Something in between? But when I stepped backstage after the second set, Roman was waiting for me. Same towel over the shoulder. Same body glistening with sweat. But his face? Different. Softer. "You came back," he said. "Yeah. Josh told me you almost bailed the first night." "I almost did," I said, then smiled. "Glad I didn't." He nodded, then handed me a clean towel. "You want to help tonight?" "We're short one guy on floor service." Nick bailed. "Sure," I said, not even hesitating this time. We worked side by side for the rest of the night, trading glances, brushing past each other, smiling like idiots when nobody was watching. After closing, when the music was off and the floor was cleared, he pulled me aside by the bar. "I want to ask you something," he said, eyes suddenly serious. "Okay, are you doing this for me or for you?" It caught me off guard. I paused. "Maybe both," I admitted, "but I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be." Roman studied me for a second, then nodded, satisfied. "I like you," he said, quiet. "Yeah?" I teased. "I couldn't tell," he smiled. "I don't do this often, Tyler. Not with people from the club. Not like this." I stepped closer. "So what is this?" Roman didn't answer right away. Then he said, "It's something. We don't have to define it right now." That worked for me. I reached up, thumb grazing the edge of his jaw, just lightly. "Let's keep figuring it out." And that night, we didn't kiss. We didn't need to. Because sometimes the most intimate thing is standing in front of someone and saying, "I want to know you," and meaning it.